Hello, I wanted to make a quick video to show you what to expect for the test. If you've had me before, you know that my tests are a little bit different format, and it'll be similar possibly to the ones you've taken before, but it may have some changes. And if you haven't had me before, I need to show you what to expect. So the first thing when you take the test will probably be a multiple choice section. This multiple choice section will be essentially from the quizzes that you've already done. So I would make sure that you understand all the quiz problems. There could be some different answers. It could be asked in a different way. But the idea is that if you really understand the basic concepts that are shown in the quizzes, then you will do very well on this. The screen here is showing a test. It was the second test, so if these questions don't look familiar, that's why. But it's second test from a previous semester. But you can see that it's just multiple choice, and you're just choosing the correct answer. So there's nothing difficult or confusing here. It tends to be between 5 and 15% of the grade for the test. The next thing you'll see is likely to be a combination of a unit conversion. So the way that we're going to do tests is you're not going to have to end up with a final answer. So you're not going to have to do unit conversions there. But I want to make sure that you do know how to do unit conversions, because I think it is very, very important for engineers to know how to do unit conversions. So for this test, it said to convert 254 kilometers times hours per kilogram to centimeters times seconds per gram. And so you do need to show your work for these ones. On the multiple choice, you do not. But this one you do need to show your work. So you just started out, so just writing out 254 kilometers times hours divided by kilograms. And you need to go get rid of your hours and take it to seconds. So I went from hours, so you can cross those off, and 60 minutes in 1 hour, and then 60 seconds in 1 minute, so you get rid of the minutes. So now I'm in seconds, which is what the answer needs. But then I need to go from kilograms on the bottom to grams on the bottom. So I get rid of the kilograms on the bottom. There's 1,000 grams of kilogram. And then I need to get rid of the kilometer on the top. And so I do these two conversions here. You don't need to actually use your calculator to get the answer. You just show me how you do all unit conversions. The idea is that if you gave your test to a really smart middle schooler, they could do all of the algebra and math for you. But you need to show how to do the unit conversion portion. So this would be full credit on this problem. The next one shown here is a cross product. So you need to know how to do a cross product, but again, I'm not going to ask you to do it on a bunch of different problems, because if you can do it once, then you're just wasting time doing it on other problems. So I won't make you do it on every single one, so I have this part here where it just shows you know how to do the cross product. So I give you two vectors, and you're supposed to again show your work, so it's not just plugging it into your calculator. If you want to go through all of the math here by hand, and then you want to plug it into your calculator to see if you are correct, that's fine. But hopefully you are good enough by now doing the cross product that you can just do it and be confident in how to do it. It's okay if you do it different ways. I don't mind you doing it in different ways, but you should end up with an answer that looks something like this last line here. And again, it should not be just used from your calculator. So if you go from just this to the answer, you're going to lose a lot of points because you haven't shown me that you know how to do it. You just show me that either you know how to do it, but you didn't write it out, or that you know how your calculator does it. So then for the problems, again, this is going to be different than probably what you're used to, is all you have to do is you need to write out the equation that you want to use in variable form. So again, this is for the second test, so don't be worried if these equations don't look familiar to you. But you write it out in variable form. So here is VC equals omega BC times RIC, and then it has some subscripts here as well. And then what you want to do is you want to use these equations to solve for something. So here you just start writing out the knowns. So VC is equal to 4 feet per second. And so if you know the R, then you know omega. Unfortunately, in this problem, you weren't given R or omega. So you come over here and you say r is equal to, and then this is the math to get r. So 1 foot divided by the sine of 45 degrees. So you do need to have units on every single number that you write here. Otherwise, when a middle schooler goes to do the math, they don't know what units to put on things. So you don't have to do unit conversions. If you had something in inches and something in feet, that's okay, because you've already shown me how to do unit conversions, but you do need to put the units on them so that they are correct. It's just not correct if you don't have the feet there. So this equation gives you r, so you can just draw an arrow over here saying, hey, I know r, and then you circle the unknown from the equation. So this, you didn't know omega bc, so now you solved for it. So then in this problem, you write out another equation, vb equals omega bc times a different r. And so you can say, look, I know the omega over here, and the r for this one, I can just look at the problem, and I know it's 1 foot, and so I can solve for the vb. And then this problem continues on, and it has even a third equation that you would use. So the idea is that all you have to do is write out the equations in variable form, write which variables you know, circle the one that you're solving for, and if you solve for one somewhere else, you can just draw an arrow over for it. But you never need to actually use your calculator to find numbers. So you don't need to solve for this r to get a number. This right here is full credit on this problem. And the reason that I do this is I don't want you to waste a lot of time just using your calculator. I assume that you can use your calculator, so I don't want you to waste time. I want you to show me the information that you know rather than taking time on the calculator. So to show you another problem, again, this one uses unit vectors, so if you're using unit vectors, please include them. But again, you see this is the equation written out here. A is equal to alpha times r, and then with the vectors and unit vectors here. And alpha was given in the problem, so you just write that down. R was also given in the problem, so you just write that down. And now I assume that you know the value of the vector a sub c. Then it comes over, and that a sub c is used in a longer equation over here. But again, you just write out what you know. And once you're down to one unknown, then you just circle it. And now I know that you can solve for the acceleration of point B in this problem. So I'll just scroll through the rest of them. Again, it's not information that you need to know, but just so you can see what full credit looks like on a test. You don't need a final number. You just need to have the thing that you're solving for should be solved for, obviously, but not in numerical form, just that you have enough equations to get it. So here again, what you were solving for here was the normal forces. So it shows that if you find the normal force here, then you solve. You can also solve for the normal force NA, and that's what you were solving for. So you say, look, I found these, I know these, so I don't need to go any further. As far as to how many problems you should expect, I'd expect to see 5 to 7 homework of your actual homework problems, so problems you've already done. Hopefully this alleviates some of your anxiety when going into the test, because they're problems you've already done. They should look familiar. You're just applying the concepts that you know to those problems and solving them. And then you should expect 1 to 2 new problems. Again, these should be like homework type problems. They won't be your actual homework problems, because I want to make sure that you can take the knowledge that you have and apply it to a new problem. And then the very last problem is going to be a hard problem. And the idea behind these, you've probably noticed on your homeworks that the last problem is considerably harder than the previous ones. And the idea behind that is I want you to know the basics really well, so I try to give you a few basic problems. But then if you really want to get an A, I want you to put in some extra effort and make sure that you have a really good in-depth understanding of the material. So I give you one really hard problem, but I only make it worth 10%. So if you just understand the basics and you understand them very, very well, you should be able to get a very good B or an A- on the test and on the homeworks. But if you really want to get an A, then you have to have a really good understanding of the principles and being able to apply them to a difficult problem. So that's what you should expect for the test. I'll be sending this video out, and then shortly after I will be sending some instructions on how to actually come and take the test. And then I'll be emailing those that have contacted me that need some special accommodations. So if you have any questions, definitely contact me. I'm making this on Wednesday morning, so hopefully I get out to you Wednesday morning so that you can know what you're going into to study for the test. I would definitely go over the quizzes and make sure you feel comfortable with all those answers. I would then start going over the homework problems because, like I said, 5 to 7 homework problems are actually going to be on the test. But when you're going over them, I would solve them this way, where you're just writing out the equation and then writing out the variables that would be, the variables and what their values are that would be plugged into those equations so that you could solve it. Don't waste your time by doing a bunch of calculator work that isn't going to be useful. Make sure that you know which equations to use and make sure that you can find all the values for the variables that you need to solve those equations. All right, good luck studying and good luck on the test.